Y'all, can I tell you about these Tecovas boots? I don't know if y'all know this, but these boots are handmade, high quality, stylish, and comfortable right out of the box. I know we buy everything online these days, but boots are something you really should get fitted for. And it just so happens Tecovas is based right here in Austin. So come shop with me at the Tecovas store on South Congress or the Domain. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. Today on CityCast Austin, y'all are going to gain a whole new appreciation for the most creepy, crawly Austinites, our local insects. I'm talking cockroaches, cicadas, lightning bugs, scorpions, and so much more with Austin entomologist Wizzy Brown. This episode of CityCast Austin is brought to you by our exclusive launch sponsor, Tecovas. It's Thursday, July 18th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. I am here today with Wizzy Brown, an entomologist. Hello.
Hello.
Wizzy, how are you?
I'm well. And yourself?
I'm good. So we are going to talk a little bit today about kind of my simultaneous favorite and least favorite thing, and that is bugs.
It's one of those things that while they may creep you out, they're still fascinating, kind of like a car wreck. You got to look at them.
I want to talk about insects that we're seeing in and around Austin, like right now for the summer. And we want to break this conversation up into 4 categories. The good, the bad, the ugly, and finally the summer stunners. Okay?
Okay.
All
right.
Okay, so let's start with the good. Like what I'm learning, some bugs are harmless and are actually beneficial to our ecosystem that we're seeing around now. Like ladybugs, right? Who feed on aphids, and I saw something about cicada killer wasps.
Yes, cicada killer wasps are out right now, and they're going to freak people out because they're big.
Tell me about them.
They are some of our largest wasps that we have in Texas. They get maybe about 1.5 inches in length, and the head and thorax is going to be kind of like a reddish brown color. They have dusky wings, and then the abdomen is going to be yellow and black. The females are going to dig tunnels in the ground. So you might see a hole or a hole that has like a pile of dirt around it. And the females are going in and out of there. And that's actually where they are going to provision. They are going to go paralyze cicadas in the trees, carry them back to that tunnel, go in the tunnel, and then they have these little offshoot tunnels and they provision those with cicadas and they lay an egg on it. And then when that egg hatches out, the larvae is going to eat that cicada. The male cicada killer wasps are territorial. So they kind of stake out an area and they wait for any female cicada killer wasps to come into that area for mating purposes. But if you happen to walk into that area, they will get all up in your business and, but male wasps or bees or ants cannot sting. Only the females are capable of stinging.
Male wasps and bees do not sting.
Okay.
Did I hear that right?
Correct. So the stinger in those types of insects are actually a modified ovipositor, which is the egg-laying structure, and males don't have that. So the male insects of those cannot sting you.
Is there any way to identify a bug or insect that's good for the environment? Like one, like the ones that we should just kind of scooch outside if we find it?
Well, I kind of feel that way about any insect, because even if we think about some of the pest insects, or that commonly called pests, a lot of people don't like spiders. There are some venomous spiders that we have in Texas, but those are still going to be predatory and feed on insects. Or let's take cockroaches. That's another one that people really dislike. They're fantastic decomposers. So you just kind of got to look at it in a way that there is some benefit to those insects or they wouldn't be here. They have to have a purpose of some sort. So in my opinion, any insect is something that you should just shuffle outside.
Now, cockroaches specifically. I know some people call them tree bugs or tree roaches.
Mhm.
They are the bane of my existence. They look prehistoric. They freak me out. I don't like to kill them because the crunch makes me want to come out of my skin. And I think that anything that makes that much noise when you kill it, you should not be trying to kill it.
That is what I did my research on when I was in
Wizzy,
graduate
no.
school.
Wizzy,
And I
no.
loved them.
No.
They're absolutely amazing. And there are some gorgeous, gorgeous cockroaches that we have. And you can find them here in Austin. We have one that is called a pale bordered field cockroach that is absolutely beautiful. We have other ones that are known as Cuban or banana cockroaches that are absolutely beautiful. I actually have a tattoo of a cockroach. So,
What?
yeah.
Okay, Wizzy. All right. Yeah, you're gonna have to. Maybe you can change my mind because you make them sound cool, but when they're crawling around in front of my apartment, I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, that's most people. If you think about cockroaches, they are scavengers, they're omnivores, and they're very great at finding things and being able to survive because they kind of get in and eat that stuff that other stuff might not necessarily eat. So while they are considered gross a lot of times from where they are or where they're located, they are still beneficial because they're helping to break down that garbage or carrion or fecal material or decaying vegetation or anything like that.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm going to try to keep that in mind the next time I see one or one drops out of an oak tree while I'm on a patio.
I love that you said that they look prehistoric because that is actually true. The cockroaches, there are cockroach fossils that are millions of years old that actually look exactly like the cockroaches that we have today. It's the same body design. So obviously they figured out
Lizzie.
how to work things out like a really long time ago, and they're keeping on.
I'm gonna try to think of them as survivors.
Yes, that's a good way to look at them.
So are there any things that we can do, like those of us that have yards or whatever, are there any things that we can do to kind of help good bugs thrive outside, or things maybe we shouldn't be doing that hurts them or anything like that?
Definitely. So this is something that I try to encourage everyone that I talk to do, is to help the insects that you have in your landscape. And the first thing that you can probably do is make sure that there is food, water, and shelter, because that's essentially what anything needs to survive. So basically, if you're talking about food, that's really going to be dependent upon the type of insect and what it's feeding on. Some insects will feed on plants. And so being okay with some amount of plant damage that may be caused by insects can help those insects. But even if you don't necessarily like the insects that feed on your plants, if you want those predatory insects in your landscape, they're going to be eating those insects that feed on the plants. And so a lot of times you need to have some level of them in the landscape. So if I get rid of all of the aphids in my landscape, I'm not going to have any ladybugs. So if I want ladybugs, I need to have some level of aphids. Trying to say that you're going to have no insects in your landscape is, in my opinion, kind of scary almost, because if you don't have insects, that means that you're going to have a really unhealthy ecosystem. So, kind of come to terms with what you're okay with and what you're not okay.
So now we're going to move to the bad, the bugs that we maybe should be afraid of. So, off in my brain, the bugs are scorpions, mosquitoes, wasps. But, what bugs should we be on the lookout for right now?
Right now, the one that I would say people should probably be most concerned with, but nobody ever seems to really be concerned with, are the mosquitoes, because they are capable of vectoring diseases that can be with you lifelong or could cause you to go into the hospital. So making sure that you are emptying any standing water that you might have around the landscape. And this could be small amounts. It doesn't take a lot to have those mosquitoes lay their eggs in that standing water. The other thing that you need to be aware of when you're outside with mosquitoes is protecting yourself from those adult mosquitoes. Both adult female and male mosquitoes feed on nectar. That is their energy source. And actually, mosquitoes have a benefit of being pollinators. But with the female mosquitoes, they also require a blood meal because they need the protein to produce the eggs. And so
Now, wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop you. I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. Are you saying blood meal as in MEAL?
Like they suck blood out of you or
and it's
other
called
animals.
Blood meal?
Well, they need. It's a meal for them, and it's blood. So.
Oh my God! Oh my God, Wizzy, you're freaking me out. Okay, keep going. Okay, I just want to make sure I heard you right.
So the females need that blood to produce their eggs. And so they are the ones that are capable of vectoring disease organisms. So if they go and feed on somebody or something, a mammal, bird, whatever, that has a disease organism in their blood, then they come and feed on you, they can then vector that over to you. And so you need to be very careful and protect yourself against the possibility of that happening. So with mosquitoes, they actually inject saliva that has a anticoagulant in it, and that kind of keeps the blood flowing. And it also has a anesthetizing agent in it, so you don't actually feel them biting you. So it kind of numbs that area. And that way, when they're feeding, you don't know that they're feeding on you. And then when they fly away and that goes away, that's usually when you discover, oh, hey, I was bitten by something. And so a lot of times when you have that localized reaction, if you're somebody who reacts to that, you're having an allergic reaction to that saliva that they injected into you.
They are disgusting. Is it worse certain times a year? Because it feels like in the spring, it's not as bad. And then as it gets hotter, it gets worse. Is that right?
Well, we have here in Texas, we're blessed. We have mosquitoes year round. Unfortunately, I say that we're blessed, but it really depends on how you look at it.
So some of us on the team have noticed that fire ants are bad and the bites never go away. So let's talk a little bit about fire ants. I read once that some people are straight up allergic to fire ant bites and they have an allergic reaction. Is that true?
I am one of those people that is allergic to fire ants. I'm not originally from Texas. And so this is something that kind of developed over time. I did research on fire ants for many years and I was stung a lot. And that kind of turned into me being allergic to the venom that they inject into you. So when a fire ant comes out to attack, they will bite you first and then they will repeatedly sting you. And the sting is actually what causes the reddening, the burning sensation, the pustule, and all of that stuff. But that's also, since they have a hold of you with their mandibles, that's why you have to brush them off and you can't just kind of shake them off casually like you can other insects.
Okay, wait. Now, this that seems personal. That seems like a personal attack. So you're telling me they get the mandibles in you, they bite you, and as they're still biting you, they are also stinging you?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. They really are the jerks of the insect world. That's sadistic. It's sadistic. It's terrible. I'm sorry. That just freaked me out too. Now, I want to talk a little bit about scorpions because I think most Texans have a scorpion interaction story.
Scorpions are super cool. The common ones that we have around here, the most common are going to be the striped bark scorpions, but also in some parts of Austin, we have a cave scorpion that is a black scorpion, whereas the striped bark scorpion is kind of like a yellowish tan color. And they are going to have a long tail with a stinger at the end. And typically they use that stinger to help them eat So they eat live prey. They are beneficial, again, as predators. And so those pinchy claws that are on the front, those are actually mouth parts. And they use those to grab a hold of whatever they're eating, and then they cram it into their chelicerae area so they can masticate it and ingest it. And if that is wiggling around too much, that's when they bring that stinger up over their body and they'll sting their prey, and that causes it to be paralyzed and makes it easier for them to hold on to so they can eat. But they also will use that stinger to defend themselves. And usually when you're stung by a scorpion, it's that you accidentally step on one in the middle of the night, or you roll over on one, or you step on one outside, or maybe it crawled into a pair of shoes that you had sitting on the porch and you didn't check them before you stuck your foot in.
What should we do if we do accidentally get stung?
Usually with scorpion stings, it kind of feels similar to a bee or a wasp sting. If you have abnormal swelling or heart palpitations or breathing problems or rashes or anything like that, you would need to seek medical attention.
Right. Okay. So now we're going to move over to the ugly, the creepy or scary looking insects that we're seeing right now that are perceived as ugly or creepy, but they actually really aren't that bad. Like when I think about this, I always think about tarantulas. Like the moment I found out that tarantulas are essentially passive and that we should just kind of let them do what they're doing, it blew my mind because they look so scary.
I love tarantulas. Tarantulas are going to be the largest spiders that we have in Texas. And they get, if you include their legs, probably about 6 inches or so. And like you said, they're passive. They're pretty chill. If you leave them alone, they will just go about their business. They are typically going to be nocturnal if you see them. Most tarantulas are going to hide during the day in burrows that they create in the ground. And a lot of them will be setting up kind of like tripwires or whatever with the silk that they have. So not tripwires necessarily, but like signaling kind of wires, or I guess for this case, signaling silk. And when something kind of walks in that area, they will then kind of know that there's something out there that they can eat. But typically people don't come across tarantulas too often.
Are there any other, do you have any ugly bugs that come to mind that look scary or creepy that really aren't?
Well, I have a hard time saying that any of them are ugly or creepy, because most of the things that people say are gross, I like. Probably one that creeps people out are the Scolopendra centipedes, the Texas red-headed centipedes. Those ones get very large. They can get about 9 inches in length when they're fully grown. They have lots and lots of legs. So with centipedes, they're going to have a flattened body and they have a pair of legs on each segment of their body. And with the Scolopendra, those ones are going to have a reddish-orange head that has a pair of reddish-orange antennae. They have kind of bluish-green bodies, and then they have bright yellow legs. And they are capable of biting, and they do have a very painful bite. So they are definitely one that you do not want to handle. But again, beneficial as predators.
The last grouping is the summer stunners. So I keep saying recently, but it's been within the last couple of years, I have gotten obsessed with cicadas and how technically they're beautiful. Like their wings are beautiful. They are the sound of summer. They really are.
If you were another cicada, you would think that was really hot sounding.
Really? Is it a mating call?
It is.
Oh my God. I did not know that. They're beautiful though. Like I didn't expect for cicadas to look like that and sound like that. Like I imagined some weird, crunchy, ugly, terrible thing making that sound. Not this little, you know what I mean? I would have never imagined those wings.
Yeah, the wing venation on them is very distinct. You can really see the venation on it. And it's almost kind of like a stained glass window that, or leaded glass where you have that division.
What are their benefits? Are they just here to wreak havoc?
Well, I would say with cicadas, they fit into a food web. So they are food for other animals. And that would be kind of their purpose, because they don't live for an extremely long time as adults, because basically when they emerge out as adults, their job is to mate and then for the females to lay eggs. But they spend, for the ones that we have here in Texas, the majority of our cicada species are going to be yearly. You hear a lot about the periodical cicadas. Those, we only have one species of those in Texas, and those are found up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So we don't have those ones that are like 13, 15, 17 years here in the Austin area. We have them every year. But they are going to spend the majority of their lifetime under the ground feeding on tree roots. So they're not terribly beneficial in that sense, but they're going to be food for birds. They're going to be food for mammals. I know my dog likes eating them when we go on walks. So, they serve a purpose.
My next summer stunner are, of course, lightning bugs. I am obsessed.
And you say lightning bugs. So is it lightning bugs or is it fireflies? Because depending on where you grew up, you're going to call them different things. And they are essentially the same insect. So those are all different types of beetles in the family Lampyridae. And not all lightning bugs will do the flashing or lighting up, but that is how they signal to find mates. So they have different flash patterns that they will use, and that's how they find mates. But there are some fireflies that are tricky, and they mimic the flash patterns of other fireflies, and that's how they lure in food. So that'll be lightning bugs of that species that's not their species, and they'll lure them in with that flash pattern to eat them.
Oh my God.
Food is food.
That just brought up an entirely different mental image in my head that is the stuff of nightmares. Thank you so much for talking with me about these like savage, heartless, amazing wonderful creatures that live among us. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. Thank you. This
has been awesome. I'm still creeped out, but it's been awesome.
I'm going to have nightmares tonight now.
Oh, man. That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Wizzy's work in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.